1. Hello, and thank you for watching our video. If you haven't already, we'd really appreciate it if you could like our Facebook page, where you can get lots of videos here, both grammar, phrasal verbs, and of course our Acquire English Live podcast. And we also have videos on YouTube, lots and lots of videos here. Some are the same, some might be a little bit different. So feel free to subscribe to both. And also, if you didn't know, we have some courses on both Udemy and Skillshare. So these courses here are speaking, listening, and pronunciation. And this is for beginners, so A1 students, to go to A2 level. So go from A1 to A2. And we also have an A2 to B1 course coming out very soon. So please look at that one. So we'd really appreciate it if you could check those out. But today, I'm here as always with Tuan. This is episode 12 of Acquire English Live. Okay? And in today's episode, we're talking about glasses, wearing glasses. So how long have you worn glasses, Tuan?
8 years.
8 years?
Yeah, about 8 years.
Oh, so your vision must be fairly good.
It's not bad, but yeah, as I get older, it's getting worse.
Yeah, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm guessing you've never seen me wear glasses, because
No.
my glasses are about this thick, right? I have absolutely terrible vision. If I weren't wearing contacts, I always wear contacts. If I weren't wearing contacts, I could not get home by myself, probably. I don't think I would be able to go through like a busy train station and get home by myself.
Yeah, I've never seen you with glasses. I was surprised to hear that you have contacts.
Yeah. And not only do I have terrible vision, I'm also a little colorblind.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm red. It's called red-green colorblind. So reds and greens, I don't see very well. Green will often look, I suppose, like gray. I suppose the best way to say it. So not every green, but over the years, I've kind of trained myself to understand, oh, this is what people call green, I think. So, yeah, so many people look and say, oh, you have very beautiful blue eyes. And my response is usually, yeah, but they don't work very well. They're terrible, right? So no matter what my eyes look like, they don't see very well. Their function's not very good. So I'd rather have ugly eyes and be able to see perfectly than have blue eyes and not be able to see. But anyway, today, let's take a look at our conversation. So we're having a conversation about wearing glasses and contacts. Let's check it out.
Morning.
Good morning. Whoa, what happened to your glasses?
Oh, I'm wearing contact lenses today.
Oh, how often do you wear contacts?
I always wear them when I play sports, but I hardly ever wear them to work. Do you wear glasses?
I have glasses, but I hate wearing them. I always wear contacts. Okay, and let's go ahead and break down this conversation here. So the beginning doesn't take too much explanation. Tuan says morning, just means good morning. Notice sometimes we leave off the good here. So we just say morning. How would you say this, Tuan?
Yeah, morning.
Morning, right? Sometimes we even leave off the G and we just say morning. As we often do in English, we don't often don't end words with a hard G. So we might just say morning, something like that. And the next one, I said, good morning. Of course, just means good morning. We don't need to spend too much time. So seems like Tuan and I are both just getting to the office here. The next line here.
I think maybe one point. We say morning, but we wouldn't say afternoon or evening. Maybe that's quite evening.
Yeah, sometimes maybe.
I guess, yeah. But not afternoon, though.
Afternoon? Yeah, I would never say afternoon.
Yeah, just for morning and evening, I guess, but not afternoon.
Yeah. I don't say good afternoon in general, though.
Yeah.
I don't even say good evening that often.
Yeah, it's just the morning.
Just the morning for the most part. I mean, it's okay to say good evening on occasion, right? But in general, we don't say it all that often.
Very formal, yeah. I guess morning is just more polite. Yeah.
Right. That first sort of acknowledgement, that first hello of the day sort of thing, right? Good point, though. Okay. And then the first line here, it says, whoa, what happened to your glasses? So if you've seen our other videos, Tuan is always wearing glasses, but today he's not. So I say, whoa. Whoa just means I'm surprised. And then what happened to your glasses? Why aren't you wearing glasses today? So what happened could have many different meanings. If Tuan had a big crack in his glasses, I could say, what happened to your glasses? But in this case, he's not wearing his glasses. So I said, what happened to them? Where are they? Why aren't you wearing them today? And the next line is Tuan's.
Oh, I'm wearing contact lenses today.
Yeah. So, I'm wearing contact lenses today. So instead of wearing glasses, I'm wearing contact lenses. Is that okay? And I ask, how often do you wear contact lenses? So how many times do you wear contact lenses a week, a month, something like that? How often do you wear them? You can see in the picture here, we have the question marks on different days. So how often do you wear them? And notice before, the line before, Tuan said contact lenses. And then the next line, I say contacts. Both are okay. In general, I would say I always say contacts. I never say contact lenses. But how about you, Tuan?
Yeah, maybe contacts. I think generally in English, we make everything shorter and easier to say.
Right. So probably most people would probably just say contacts. How often do you wear contacts? But if you want to say contact lenses, it's not a big deal. Okay. And the next line here is Tuan's.
I always wear them when I play sports.
Right. I always wear them when I play sports. So you can see 100%. Tuan is a really good soccer player, footballer. So I wear contacts every time, 100% when I play sports, every time. Okay. So I always wear them when I play sports. The next line.
But I hardly ever wear them to work.
Right. But I hardly ever wear them to work. So hardly ever here means I almost never wear them to the office, wear them to work. So almost never, we're saying 2%, maybe under. It's sometimes difficult to give a percentage on these, but very, very rarely, almost never wear contacts to work. Okay. And the next line.
Do you wear glasses?
All right. Do you wear glasses? Do you have glasses? And next line here, I say, I have glasses. So yes, I do. But I hate wearing them. So it means I don't like them. And this is true. I have glasses, but as I just mentioned, they're really thick. They're ugly. I don't like them. I don't like wearing them at all. So I prefer contacts. Okay. And the last line here, I always wear contacts. So we talked about always before. So 100%, always. I wear contacts 100% of the time. So this 100% can be a little confusing. So obviously I don't sleep in my contacts, or I usually take them out before I take a shower. But this just means in general, when I'm awake, 100%. We could say 99.999%, but we'll round up to 100% in this situation, meaning always. So, okay. And that is part of our grammar point for this lesson. So we had this line with Tuan when he said, I always wear them when I play sports, but I hardly ever wear them to work. So let's talk a little bit about always and hardly ever. So I always wear them when I play sports means 100% of the time. Every time I play sports, I wear them. Okay. But I hardly ever wear them to work. Hardly ever means almost never. And here we're saying, let's say, less than 5% would maybe be hardly ever if we have to give a percentage. But again, just means very, very rarely does he wear these to work. Hardly ever. Anything to add there, Tuan?
Yeah, just be careful with the hardly and hard. I think there's going to be a new video on that soon, but just be careful with that point.
We will have a video soon about the difference between hard and hardly. So keep a lookout for that. We don't want to get too far into it now, but there is a big difference between hard and hardly. So we should have a video out maybe the day after this video posts. So maybe tomorrow. Okay. And always and hardly ever are what we call adverbs of frequency. And there's some other adverbs of frequency we have. So of course, always could mean every day, every time. We also use usually, often, sometimes, hardly ever, and never. And these are in the order of strength here. So never, of course, is 0%, right? We can put that in there so it's not confusing. 0%. You don't do it. Never do it. What's something you never do, Tuan?
Something I never do. I never surf.
Same. So, and remember, I have never and I never are different. We use these adverbs of frequency usually with the present tense to talk about our routines. So I never surf means I don't do it. It is not part of my routine. I have never surfed means in my life 0 times, right? So I can also say I never surf, but I have surfed before. At least I tried. I tried surfing. So, but it was 15 years ago or so, right? So in that case, it's not part of my routine. So I would say I never surf. Okay. I never drink wine. Now, of course, I have drank wine, but drinking wine is not part of my routine. It's been years since I've had any wine, something like that. So again, always means every day, every time, 100%. Usually is just kind of our normal routine, normal behaviors. Often is a little bit less than usually, sometimes a little bit less than that. And then hardly ever we said was almost never. Okay. And I think always, usually, often, sometimes, never are pretty common. I think most people know these. So let's just focus a little bit on hardly ever. And next I will quiz Tuan on some of these. Let's take a look at this picture here. Okay. It says, my parents are fat, which if you remember from one of our past videos, we said fat is not a very nice word. We said, my parents are overweight is a nicer word for fat. I said, okay. So what do they hardly ever do, Tuan? Can you fill in the blank here? Can you help us out?
So we can see in the middle, they have you would say a treadmill or a running machine.
Yep.
Maybe what I would say. So you can say they hardly ever run, they hardly ever, or you can say they hardly ever exercise.
They hardly ever exercise. They hardly ever run. Right. You can see on the treadmill here, there's a little spider web. So obviously doesn't get used very often. Okay. So in the picture here, they are, of course, the dad here is eating a hamburger. The mom is drinking some soda. Maybe this is part of their routine as well. So what else could you say? They hardly ever do what?
So we can also say, yeah, hamburgers and maybe soda is not very healthy. So we can say they hardly ever eat healthy food.
Eat healthy food. How about you, Tuan? Are you a healthy eater?
A little.
A little, yeah. I eat a lot of healthy food and I eat a lot of unhealthy food. I just eat a lot of food in general, I think. So, but yeah, in this case, hardly ever, we're saying almost never. So they maybe occasionally go out for a walk, but basically never exercise. So they hardly ever exercise and they have a bad diet. They hardly ever eat healthy food. Okay, let's take it one more example here. It says, I almost always go to a cafe. So here we have a coffee shop, 99%. That's where I get my coffee. Over here, 1%, maybe you have a coffee machine at home. So how would we say this one, Tuan?
So using the I again, so we can say I, and we put the adverb of frequency before the action. So we would say, I hardly ever, and the action here is make. So you can say, I hardly ever make coffee at home.
Right. I hardly ever make coffee at home. And that's a really good point that you said there. The hardly ever, hard to highlight here, the hardly ever goes in front of the verb. So the verb is make. So hardly ever make. And before, let's just point that out as well. They hardly ever exercise is the verb. So hardly ever goes before. Eat is the verb, hardly ever goes before that as well. Great. Okay, let's do one more here. It says the 8 o'clock bus is almost always late. So you can see Monday, 8:06, Tuan and I are still waiting. Tuesday, 8:04, still waiting. Wednesday, 8:01, not waiting. Thursday, 8:11, waiting. Friday, 8:03, waiting. So how would we say this one, Tuan?
So again, the subject is the bus. So the 8 a.m. bus is hardly ever. And this one, we don't need an action. So we can, the opposite of late, we can say is, so the 8 a.m. bus is hardly ever on time.
Right, on time. Yep. So in this one, we don't have a verb after it. We have on time. So hardly ever on time. I think that's pretty clear there, right? So hardly ever exercise, hardly ever eat healthy food, hardly ever make coffee at home, and the bus is hardly ever on time. Okay, let's go with a few more sentences here. And generally, when we talk about these adverbs of frequency, we use these two questions. So how often do you, or do you? Now, the how often question will often be answered with things like once a week, twice a week, once a month, twice a month, every day. And sometimes we can use always or usually or never is okay. And do you will most commonly use always, usually, never. But we can also use once a week, twice a week, those types of things there. So let's talk about these ones here. So exercise. So just to show the difference, if I say, Tuan, do you exercise?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. How often do you exercise?
About maybe once a week.
Once a week, right? Okay.
How
So
about
notice if we say do you, it's usually a yes or no question, right?
Yes.
And we can obviously yes sometimes is okay. Then how often do you? once a week, twice a week. The conversation will often go that way. Not always, but often that way. So I'm sorry, your question was?
Yeah, do you exercise?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not so much, right? I
Hardly ever.
used to. I used to exercise a lot more, but yeah, I need to.
A few times a year? How many times? How often do you exercise?
I probably haven't done. I mean, I play with my kids. That's exercise to a point, but like specifically playing a sport or going to a gym, something, it's probably been a couple years.
Okay.
So I'm starting to look like it's been a couple years since I've exercised. So I think about it. I often think about exercising, but I don't often exercise. So, okay. Let's take a look at the next one here. So eat out. So how often do you eat out, Tuan?
Often. I eat out about once a week or a few times a week.
Sure. What kind of restaurants you like to go to?
The wife likes to look for new restaurants, so we always try somewhere new around the area. But, yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
There's an Italian place near us, which is really good. Yeah, we try to go there maybe once every 2 months.
Sure.
Yourself? How often do you eat out?
These days, hardly ever, I would say. Before COVID-19, I went out to eat by myself for lunch quite a bit. I've got 2 small kids, so going out to a restaurant is not super fun. And with the current situation these days, I would say I hardly ever go out to eat. I miss it.
Where did you go out to eat lunch?
Yeah, around here, there's quite a few different restaurants around our school. So there's a really good Indian place that I like, Indian curry place. And tonkatsu, which is it's a Japanese dish, but it's like breaded pork cutlet. It's really, really good. There's a couple different places around here. A couple Japanese curry places. I've tried basically every restaurant around this school. So
Nice.
Soba, which is a type of noodle around here, buckwheat noodle, pretty good place nearby. And then kind of right next to our school is a Japanese restaurant. They have really good sashimi lunch that I would go eat quite often. So I might actually do that one today now that I'm talking about it. So
Nice.
okay, let's take a look at the next one. Drink. Now, how often do you drink? Now, this is kind of a confusing question for some people because, of course, right here I have a glass of water and every day I drink water, of course. But what is this question means alcohol? So when someone says, do you drink? It 100% means alcohol, right? So Tuan, do you drink?
Yes, I do.
How often do you drink?
Very often.
Very, very often. How many times a week do you think?
A lot.
A lot.
I don't know. A lot.
What's your drink of choice? What do you like to drink?
Wine? Yeah, wine is good.
Okay. Nice. I feel like if you drink a lot of wine, it's a little bit better than if you're drinking whiskey or gin every day.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
How about you? How often do you drink?
This one also, I'd say hardly ever. I think we've talked about this one as well.
Yeah, in the previous video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe because I hardly ever exercise, my body cannot handle alcohol anymore. It does terrible things to me. It makes me feel horrible. So I can drink. I just can't wake up the next day or be functional the next day. So I would say I hardly ever drink alcohol. Okay. The next one here. Ugh. Talk to your mother. I hope my mother doesn't see this one. You want to start with this one, Tuan?
Sure. How often do you talk to your mother?
Not very often, according to her, right? So,
Okay.
which
so
is
how
probably,
often is that? Once a month or a few times a month?
Yeah, I would say once a month maximum recently. There's times where we'll talk a few times a month, or we do, communicate by other means, but through Facebook or something. But actually having a Zoom call or talking over FaceTime, something like that, maybe once a month. So not very often. I love my mother. She's wonderful. So sorry, Mom. How about you? How often do you talk to your mother?
Yeah, maybe less. Maybe once every 2 months.
Once every 2 months, yeah.
So what would that be? Not hardly ever. Maybe sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Or we can also say maybe not often.
Yeah, not often.
Yeah. Okay. Now that we both feel terrible, let's move on to the next one. How often? So do you travel much, Tuan?
Not so much now. So COVID, yeah, only domestically, only in Japan. But usually maybe 2 times a year, so hardly ever, I guess.
Yeah. We don't travel that often as well. I would say sometimes. We try to go back to America every maybe year and a half or so. Was always the plan, but now we were hoping to go back this year, but that's obviously not happening now. So I would say sometimes. We are homebodies. I would say my family, and a homebody is someone who likes to stay at home. So my family is very good at staying home. So when the government was asking people to stay home, my whole family was just, no problem. We can stay home. That's perfect for us. Okay. I think we have one more. Or was that the last one? That was the last one. Okay. So again, with these adverbs of frequency, when we talk about how often we do something, and we had always, usually, often, sometimes, hardly ever, again, which meant almost never, and then never 0%. Okay. Anything to add here, Tuan?
Sometimes people say hardly ever, but we can also use rarely. You may have heard that, or seldom. And like Adam said earlier, we can say not often.
Right. There are a lot of other adverbs of frequency that we can add, and we'll eventually talk about, I'm sure. But there's quite a few different ones here. There's many ways to talk about it. So as you get better at English, knowing different ways to say things is important. So of course, first you need one way to say it, and then you can work on other ways. So hardly ever, rarely, seldom. Basically 3 different ways to say the same thing. Okay. And I think that pretty much does it for us today. Again, don't forget our YouTube channel is Acquire English. Please subscribe to that one. And our Facebook page also, Acquire English. Please give us a like on there as well. Lots and lots of videos, and we just keep putting out more and more as we go along. And then, of course, we have our practice courses where you can improve your listening, speaking, pronunciation on Udemy and also on Skillshare. So if you've ever used those, if you use Udemy for the first time, you do get a big discount on the first course that you purchase. So please check us out on there. And again, don't forget to practice. We've got lots of other training videos if you need some samples of videos that we have on our courses here, where we show you how to improve your listening, speaking, and pronunciation. So please check those out. And remember, it's not just about learning, you really need to be practicing practicing as well. So I believe that will do it for us today. Anything to add, Tuan?
No, that's it.
Perfect. So thanks as always, and we will see you next time. Bye.